Welcome, media arts professor, and works in a litany of media, a lit of media, a lot of media. I bet you mean a lot of media from the South, right? So welcome, JP and Michelle and Kun and Enrique and Brad and everyone else. Anybody else wants to say where they're from and what's going on, what their medium is? Otherwise, I'm going to start in just a minute. So for everyone that's here, just want to let you know, you can, if you stay on to the end, you will get my book in digital form, how to get funding as an artist. Fund Your Dreams is what it's called, and it covers all kinds of things from angel investors to all kinds of fundraising tactics. And I'll answer all your questions at the end. I'm going to go through every single question, and I just want to say welcome to Lauren, Elizabeth, Lucia, Seth, Sana, Mary, Lauren, and to go through you guys. Lauren is a photographer from Manhattan. Welcome, Lauren. Mary is an artist living in Southern Oregon, working on iPhone and iPads. Sana is a sculptor, ceramic, Philadelphia. Welcome, Sana and Mary. Lauren and Elizabeth is mixed media. Lucia is Lucia, and welcome, Lucia. Seth is painter and digital artist, and Maciam is from Philadelphia, multimedia. Alika is from Arizona. Hello, welcome, Alika. Seth from South Carolina, and Alika is a visual artist and sculptor. And Elizabeth is saying hello to Seth, who's a former Winthrop student of yours. That's good to hear. It's nice to see a little bit of a community in here, right? Already people know each other. The art world is indeed a very small world. Okay, let's jump into it, everyone. Again, I'm going to answer all your questions at the end. I'm going to give you, the slide deck at the end. Anybody that stays to the end, you'll get all that stuff. So let's see. Let's jump right into it in this holiday season. So this is international recognition for artists, and we're going to talk about galleries, residencies, grants, and patrons. And what I'd like to ask is, first, raise your hand if you feel like you're trapped under a mountain of, unsold artwork, or with nowhere to turn, no solution in sight, and no art avengers to rescue you. If you yearn for something revolutionary and life-altering so that you finally become the person who doesn't have to worry about obscurity, right? Making a living as an artist and rejection, and focus on the things that bring you joy, like a good book, a nice bottle of wine, theater with friends, right? Do it all, get it all if that's what you want, win it all without endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, or making an utter fool of yourself. I see some hands raised, so you're in this with me because you just want to make art, right? Not spend all your time promoting it. So I don't know if you know, this is my wife and I after we got into the prestigious Whitney Museum Biennial, which for me was the show of a lifetime. I got into this major show, the Whitney Museum Biennial, without being represented by a gallery. I wrote to them directly. The art world makes it intentionally kind of mysterious, right? So it's harder for you to break in. They would have you believe you must have an MFA, right, or be beautiful or have groundbreaking work, but none of that is actually true. I'm here to tell you that that's not true, that you need to be someone else or make different work. You just need to approach it differently. I just wrote a letter to them. I should also mention that you'll get a free PDF copy of my book, Fund Your Dreams Like a Creative Artist, the slide deck if you stay to the end. And so how do you know you're in the perfect place? This is for you if you're an artist that wants more recognition. It's for you if you're sick and tired of paying for shows, enduring rejections from grants and patrons, and getting radio silence from galleries and residencies, toiling away in obscurity, and making less than artists who are worse than you. This is for you if you're absolutely done with high-priced consultants with no guarantees, or MFAs that teach you how to defend your work, but not to sell it, right? And I'm not against MFAs for sure, and all the mumbo jumbo you hear from the art world. And this is for you if you're looking to understand how the art world really works so you can exhibit more this year, get international visibility, and sell your art at high prices. This is me. I'm an artist, educator, Yale University radio host, and author of 5 books. Actually, there's 6 here. The 6th one is just coming out, Sell Online. And I've done over 1,000 interviews with all kinds of people from all over the art world. And the image is from Rizzoli Bookstore, a gorgeous bookstore where I launched my first book for artists. And I've been in 2 biennials and numerous shows around the world. And I've also interviewed over 1,000 artists and curators on Yale University Radio to date. Those interviews on my program is what I continually draw from, not just my own experiences or artists that I've worked with, but practicing artists that are working all over the world, from the US to Europe, the Middle East, all over. So let me start by telling you something I think no successful artist will admit in public. Embrace yourself. You've been lied to, right? Repeatedly, insistently, shamelessly by the art world. Lies like you need an MFA or you need to be beautiful to make it in the art world. And you must sell online, just do more marketing. And the most insidious of all is you need to be young or odd or avant-garde somehow, that no one wants straight painters who make beautiful images. This is exactly what's kept you lost, right? Confused and suffering in obscurity, with spending money you don't have, wasting time you owe your loved ones, ignored with art unsold, or paying for storage instead of getting paid to exhibit work, isolated from people you love, alone in the studio, and getting hassled sometimes by your spouse, right, to give up already because you're not showing or selling enough art. Well, no more. Now you're here. You're under my wing, so to speak. You're under my care, in essence, and that alone should make you want to breathe a big sigh of relief, because I have proof of what I'm saying. So how will the next 90 minutes flip your life around? There's wiping the slate clean. This is where I will turn every single thing you know about the business of art and getting international recognition, and you will just sit there with a happy look of, oh my God, on your face. Ideally, you can have all my secrets. This is where you literally get to steal my praxis method and make it your own, so you never have to listen to the art world tell you why you can't be successful. Unless you're young, beautiful, and political with an MFA in trendy avant-garde work. It's the keys to the kingdom. Prepare to be blown out of your chair and into a new world where humiliating rejections, paying for shows, and art storage, and slaving away in obscurity don't exist, and you'll live the life of a successful professional artist, exhibiting and selling work and getting the recognition you deserve. Like some of the 100 most powerful people of the art world. You ever see that article? Comes out every year. Actually, a few magazines now. Those are curators and artists at the top of the list. So wiping the slate clean. Why do we have to wipe the slate clean? Right? What's that about? So first, the danger of the wrong method. Artists are usually told, that to apply to international residencies this way, or just fill out the form, write a good proposal and statement that matches the mission. But when you do that, rejection happens. The advice is similar for galleries and grants. For instance, writing a terrible statement, and as a result, your work is undermined and your application is thrown out. Over the last 5 years, I've interviewed 36 directors of residency programs and 28 gallery directors on Yale University Radio, and I had 58 students get accepted into residencies. And one thing they have all told me is, you should definitely send in the statement you have if you're a masochist who actually wants humiliating rejection. The danger of the wrong method, resources, and execution is essentially lost opportunity, lost grants, right? Lost gallery representation. Here's irrefutable proof. 30% of almost all applications are rejected for common errors and off-topic writing. I mean, the simple stuff. Every year since 2005, applications by artists for grants and residencies have dropped, possibly because it's assumed in a poor economy there are less grants or more competition. So it's time to drop preconceived ideas about your potential to win grants, residencies, and gallery representation, for sure. So it's less competitive because less people keep applying, for many of them. The global art market was valued at almost $64 billion in US dollars in 2017. That's up from $57 billion. But if you're still not convinced, Here's more proof. I owned a gallery for several years, and that's where I learned how bad artist statements can ruin good art. You know, I'd see art that I loved, and I'd read the statement, and it kind of undermined it, made it look and sound more amateurish and less sophisticated than it was in many cases. One student applied for shows just like she was told after getting an MFA, and later learned that galleries were rejecting her because her writer was too full of jargon, in a word, pretentious. But that's what she learned to do, you know, in art school. So the next time you feel like blaming yourself for all these problems, remember this: not all of that is your fault. It truly, truly isn't. It's a systematic, diabolical plan to keep you there, right? I mean, today we shall demolish their evil agenda, like I demolished my favorite ice cream, mint chocolate chip, when I'm in the mood. So this is the time to steal my secrets for international recognition. I've developed a system I call the Insider's Roadmap for International Recognition. It gets you your first international residency and exhibit in the next 6 months, plus your free, you know, your first international, you know, outing, right, residency, plus your first $5,000 from a patron to fund your residency without the humiliation of rejection or the silence of an email that hasn't been responded to or endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, so that you can exhibit more, sell your work, and get recognized by the international art world in as little as a year. Even if you are not young, trendy, or don't live in a big city, or don't have a fancy MFA, or suck at writing. The Praxis Method. So I've been teaching this for 11 years, got these hundreds of students working through this system and the results. This is the key. Students I have worked with have taught me so much about how this system works, as well as hundreds of people that I've interviewed. You know, so my promise to you today is this. At the end of the webinar, you'll walk out with an insider's roadmap to get your international residency in the next 6 months, plus your first $5,000 from a patron to fund it. We're also going to cover a critical piece of information that has to be in all residencies, so you can, you know, skip the trash and get to the head of the queue and be a finalist. How to present yourself in the international scene and meet curators. I'll go over that and get international exhibits, feedbacks, and art critics. And we'll talk about why that artist whose work isn't so good is doing so well internationally. So the way you get seen internationally is you have gallery shows, of course. You have residencies in different parts of the world, because there you meet curators, and that helps with shows. You enter museums, biennials, and other international nonprofit exhibits, and you get grants and patrons to fund it all. It's simple, isn't it? Now let me break down the roadmap that I promised you. So pillar 1 is residencies, and we have to talk about what they are and what happens and why are they so important. So you have time to work there, right, is one thing that's very important. And they're often fully funded, and you'll meet curators there. You'll have a studio, and it's where lifelong relationships can begin. It's a way to establish yourself in the art world. You'll see beautiful places, and you'll confirm your identity as an artist. It feels great. I feel that residencies are very important because it gets you out into the world with your peers, and you'll get support from your fellow artists, and especially curators, who are the people that can invite you to shows that are getting put together. However, if you don't want to travel, you can skip this. But don't you want to travel? The residencies are part of then pillar 2, which is a different part of the track. You could start in a few different places, but the parts of your future that seem most exciting is exhibitions, right? So let's begin with galleries and what they are. You probably think of them as commercial galleries that make money by selling art, plain and simple. But the importance of commercial galleries is this. When your art is sold to good collectors, you're now in collections that are seen by curators and museums, and your work is in the context of other important artworks and also in an international context. And that's very important. You want a gallery that has good collectors, not just any gallery. And then there's the element of nonprofit centers. Nonprofit centers are very important for your career for 2 reasons. Gallerists often discover artists in nonprofit centers, and Nonprofit centers are not commercially oriented, as they don't sell art, so you can do whatever you truly want to do, and you'll be judged on merit, not sales ability. That's a big difference, right? International biennials, for example, are a nonprofit, as are film theaters, art centers, alternative spaces. But international biennials are nonprofits, but they are the most prestigious showcase in the world for artists. Think the Venice Biennial, right? The one I got into was the Whitney Museum of American Art Biennial, which was run by the museum of the same name. It was a huge thrill for me and a pivotal moment in my career. Biennials are the largest and most prestigious international showcase. Getting into one tends to lead to more, getting invitations. There's a catalog, curators see your work from all over the world because they're looking through that catalog. So pillar 3 is grants and patrons. Funding is essential to an artist's career, and there are 2 ways to get funding for your practice, be it political art, paintings of landscapes, or difficult and uncomfortable themes and ideas. So grants, what are they, and what are they for? Patrons, what are they, and what are they for? Let's go through this. This is part of your very specific roadmap. Grants are gifts of money to individual artists to either, 1, to continue what they're doing, no strings attached. They don't want anything. So like the Guggenheim Fellowship is $41,000. That's $41,000 of no strings attached. Or grants, there are grants that are designed to support a particular idea. Patrons are next. They're individuals that have lots of money and set up foundations to give it away. It's what you do when you have millions of dollars. It's a way of getting a tax break for them, putting it in a separate account, and they give away a certain amount every year to museums, alternative spaces, art projects, whatever their interests are. But with patrons, you're building a relationship. They don't want anything from you exchanged. They just want to see you doing what you love, right? It's the same when patrons give to museums. They don't get something from the museum except the pleasure of knowing that it continues to exist and flourish. They do get emails from the museum, that's for sure. So that was the summary so far. Now let's get into the full roadmap and the details here. If you have any questions, this is the time to take notes. I will answer every single question at the end. I promise I'll go through everyone's question. Stay hours if I need to. So, if you have a pen and paper, this is where you can take notes. I'll go through everything very clearly, and you can ask me questions in the end. So essentially, let's step back for a minute and ask the endless question, right? Why is that artist with a big show and lousy art, or the art, you're an artist, when people's art is, subpar or not as good. And the question is always, and it's such a good one, so why is art that's subpar, that's not so good, that's, mediocre, let's say, doing so well internationally and even getting critics' praises? So there's a few reasons he or she is doing so well. That lousy artist knows how to play the game correctly, obviously, to a large extent. He or she is applying to international residencies and using that as their foot in the door to meet these powerful curators, which then get them into these big shows. He or she is also applying to grants to fund their residency and practice. Most artists don't apply for grants. And every time there's a bad economic outlook, like I was saying earlier, or a president like the one we have now, there are less applications because everyone tends to think the arts funding is over. But it's not. It's been renewed. The NEA has the same money they had last year. Nobody cut it. National Endowment for the Arts in the US and elsewhere. Because nobody else is applying, or much less, that makes it very easy for that lousy artist to snatch the grant. Same goes for patrons. So if you're not sure if I'm telling the truth, the proof is to go to that gallery where you see the artist's work and you're thinking, God, how did this work get in here? And ask for the artist's resume and information. Just go to the desk and ask. They have it on hand. They'll hand you copies and paper. And you'll see exactly in their resume what residencies they went to, what grants they won, and what curators they have worked with. They'll only list the best residencies they went to and the best shows they've had. So that means all those curators and residencies are the good ones. It will all be spelled out quite clearly on the resume. So here is exactly what I do. The exact steps I'd take between now and June. If I were in your shoes and wanted to get my first international residency and exhibit in the next 6 months, as well as $5,000 from a patron or grant to fund it. So here is the insider's roadmap. And it's the plan is to get your first residency and exhibit in the next 6 months, and funding from a patron. So pay close attention. Again, you can ask questions when this is over. I will answer it all. So pay close attention, because I'll lay it all out for you now as promised, step by step, month by month. I'll work from wherever you can do. It'll work from wherever you are, right? But let's start with January and end in June, because it's a new year. We'll be soon, and it's a good time to use a map like this. So January, you determine the international residencies you will target. You make a list of residencies you can apply to, but where do you find them? Artist Res is one site, and Residency Unlimited is another site that has a resource in it called Rivet. This is what Res artists look like. You know, I'm recommending these sites because they're good ones, and they tend to have ones where they're not pay to play and they're really interesting. Residency Unlimited is the other site that has all kinds of public programs, and you know, you'll see lectures, panels, all very good to go to see what's going on, and you can apply to all of that stuff. Rivet is a great one for open calls. You can search them based on ones that are like residencies that are funded, based as opposed to residencies that have you know, no funding or partial funding. It's a wonderful site to look through with a lot of open calls. So the action item next, essentially, is to make a list of 20 residencies. Every month, Praxis students get a list of residencies. So if you want someone else to do all this work for you because you don't have the time to do it on your own, or because you aren't good at online research, that's okay. This is something Praxis Center can help you with. Just wait until the end of the webinar, and I'll discuss what kind of additional support is available. So step 2, choose which residencies you'll apply to, right? So you're going through those sites I mentioned, Residency Unlimited or Art Res, and here's the 3 criteria they must meet, because you don't want to go to a bad one. That's really a waste of time. So they must have curators coming through and public lectures and discussions, or it's a waste of time. If it's just someone's idea of, you come to their house and everybody can work in the studio, and there are some of those, you don't want to go there. That's a no. They must have funding to pay for you to come, unless it's in your hometown. At least partially funded, but funding is very important, of course, because you're probably not independently wealthy. So that would be a no if there's no funding or cost money to come there. They must have a proper studio for you to work in, not some, you know, poorly set up space. So if residency doesn't meet any of those criteria, it'll be a waste of your time and money. Don't go there. It won't get you international recognition. So the next action item is to evaluate your residency using the 3 criteria and strike off any targets that don't meet them. And the mistakes that are often made is that artists pick a bad residency, right? Or they end up with essentially a high-priced studio in another country, no curators or connections, and poor sleeping conditions often. Or the residency is a good one, but the artist doesn't know what to say to the curator when they visit your studio, and the opportunity's lost. Those 2 mistakes rob you of money and leave you feeling like you can't talk. Both are horrible feelings and often stop artists from moving forward. But that won't be you. Sometimes it's not easy to tell if a particular residency meets these criteria based on publicly available info. If that's the case, you want to ask a mentor, an art world insider, for advice like, I can't find enough info. What's the inside word on this residency? Is it respected? Or I'm not sure about this because there's a fee. What do you think? Is it worth spending my $5,000 grant for a month there? As a Praxis member, you could ask me if you decide to be a member, and you can ask other experts in the group, and you can see if other Praxis members have been there before. You can also research the past recipients of the residency and write to them and ask them. Artists have websites that are, you know, usually available. You can reach out, say, how was that residency? Did you like it? I'm applying. So in February, you put your application materials together and send out your applications to the residencies you chose. Even if you're not ready to travel yet or you think a residency isn't the right thing, these steps would help enormously. So step 3 is to contact the residency. You know, if you have any questions, something isn't made clear about fees or living conditions, download the application, and begin reading through the whole thing. You can always call them up and ask questions too. It's really important to know. So the 4 application ingredients are essentially your biography, which should be about 250 words. That's tight, right? It's pretty short. So keep it concise. Bio is always in the third person, same format as what authors do on the back of books. Very simple, straight facts. Your statement then about why you want to go there. This is not an artist statement. This is where you shine, right? This is where you explain why it would be helpful to be in the environment and community of the residency. And this is where you can talk about, ideas you're working on, questions you have, and things you want to explore. Your website is the third piece, must be up to date. It's got to have a blog where there's news and easy to navigate on a phone. Very important that your website looks great on a phone because that's how everyone's looking at websites. Your art, pick only the best images that are photographed professionally. No hotspots or out-of-square images. That may seem obvious, but they got to look great. Everyone's phones take pretty darn good images, but it doesn't mean that the corners are all square in there and looking good. I mean, even if it's a rectangle or whatever, it's got to be, straight in the frame. So let's go through these. The bio is huge, right? And it often gets mixed up with the artist statement, and they're not at all the same. Your bio should be in the third person, not first, and keep it at 250 words, as I was saying. Mention education and a bit about who you are and where you live. Again, a great model is authors' bios in the back of their books. Sometimes you can substitute the bio for a resume or CV, especially if you have a short resume. You don't have much to a lot of shows, so you make a bio. That's perfect. Second applic piece was the artist statement, right? That's a recent invention, everyone. The artist statement is, a post-70s, mid-80s invention. There weren't artist statements before then. And the reason is because of all the conceptual art that you could not always be photographed. So someone's doing, a monochromatic color room and, there's a recording in the middle or something. Images don't reflect what's happening. So you needed to write a statement, right? Which is understandable enough. However, it became the norm suddenly. Everyone has to do a statement. It's a strange piece of writing. Like, what does it mean? A manifesto, who you are, why you make art, your personal philosophy. It's all in none of those things. So I suggest avoiding it at all completely. If you can avoid it, avoid it. If you must, right, then, okay, keep it simple and understand some applications you really feel like you must. Okay. Keep it simple and understandable and never explain why you make art. No reason to do that. Everybody makes art more or less for the same reason. We're not working in the Renaissance, so this is postmodern work. Our work has a message, a meaning. It's meant to deliver something to the world. We're not painting religious pictures for kings and queens that are illustrations of things that they want to see, right? So keep it clear and short, and don't explain why you make art. Everybody makes art because it's message oriented. Instead, either explain your process, or if you want to get intellectual, just make an analogy to a book you're reading or a movie, or give an insight into your work. It's not a bio, always in first person. It's your statement, right? Your voice. Keep it short, clear, and super readable, meaning it's worth reading. So your website, this is a big deal. Right? This is the main thing that everyone's going to see, most likely. So it should be simple, very simple to navigate. That's really important. The blog on there is a must, and a blog is a must because if you don't have a blog, the way Google's bots that are roaming around and looking at every website on the internet evaluate things is, if the website's active, then it seems good. If a content's being changed on there, then they know it's an active one and might be of interest to people. But if the content isn't changing at all, um, Google's bots assume that it's kind of a dead website. Why would anybody want to go there if the information isn't changing? Which is often the case in artist websites, right? Maybe you change a date every now and then, but if you have a blog, that's a great way to update people and keep it active and move your ranking up. It's an important way to communicate. A bio should be there, of course, and it should not be a giant archive to go through, like all your work for the last 10 years, hundreds of images, but a carefully curated selection of your best work so people get a snapshot of it and think, wow, I want to see more. If you need help editing and writing your application materials, I'll tell you more later because there's an editor waiting to look at your writing and help, and I evaluate all members' websites and give them advice to improve. But more on that later. So your art in all applications to residencies and anywhere else, your art must be photographed professionally. Or if you can't get that done, do it yourself. But, hotspots are, uneven lighting, right? And square on the frame. We can't see, sort of rhomboid-like shapes. It's got to be generally square in the frame. That's how it looks professional and makes it easier to look at, too. So here's the one piece of critical information that must be in all applications to residencies, grants, and even patrons. So you can dodge the trash can, skip the line, right? Become a finalist. Your ideas are interesting and show that you are essentialist. That's important, that you're interested in the world, in people, in art, in collaboration. In short, you're hopeful. So, that's a weird thing, right? I'm saying that whatever you write about, and that may seem obvious, you have to come across as a people person to some extent. I mean, imagine you're inviting 11 artists to stay for a week in your home, in your residency. What kind of people do you want around? Someone that seems, you could be doing dark work, that's fine, or political work, or controversial work, that's fine. But that you're interested in the dialogue and other people and talking and, is critical because they're a community. And they're not looking for hermits that don't converse. They want to be able to love you. And you must do this in an organized way, how you present all this. Because the biggest mistake is when artists leave that out. And they end up unintentionally sounding hopeless, or at least not a people person. Of course, what makes their application a fail immediately? Because we all want to be around nice people that inspire us, not the opposite, right? Communities are based on people that see each other. Hermits are based on not seeing other hermits, right? It's not really a community. The organization of your thoughts is also key, but it must be well organized. What I said becomes even more important. So, that was just a kind of the tone of it, right? That has to be in there. It's one of the fatal mistakes of just being upbeat. So step 4 is you're applying to 10 residencies by February 31st. If you're a praxis student and you need specialized help, we've got you covered. You have access to a professional editor. I review your website, make suggestions, and you'll have a step-by-step course on this process. But let's move on to this roadmap. What to do during a residency. You'll have a studio to make art, right? And that's what's really cool. But it's also there you'll meet curators and start building relationships. Because now you have curators in your studio that could put you in biennials and international exhibits. That's how you get these big shows. It's certainly, one way to get these big shows, an important way. So as the curators come into your studio, the work will, of course, speak for itself, as it should, right? It's art. However, it's time to have a conversation about the work because they're there to talk to you. And this is the crux of the residency and what will either make or break it and start getting you recognition, right? So research the curator before they come in. You'll know who they are. They'll all be listed. And know what they do. Talk about ideas related to the work that you're doing. You can also talk about the work that they're doing. If you've researched the curator, you can talk to them about it, and as well as your process. So the big mistake that's often made when curators come into an artist studio is either the artist doesn't talk at all or ask questions, or the artist explains the work too much, right? Doesn't give them a chance to talk, or the artist isn't listening closely to the curator, because you listen closely, you'll kind of know what they're thinking pretty soon. Or the artist doesn't know who the curator is. If you haven't done research on the curator, that's kind of fatal to this kind of meeting, because the curator thinks they're somebody important, and they may be, or they may not be, but they're trying to do what they do. And if you know past shows they've had, it would be enormously flattering, and you'd also know whether you're a good fit with that curator. So researching them and talking about their past shows to them is a great topic. So avoid those mistakes and get a conversation going about what they're doing. That gets you off the hot seat right away. And you're at the top of your game. You'll begin to get recognition. If you want more help with a conversation or someone to practice with, I'll tell you about that at the end of the webinar. So you use the residency essentially to get more nonprofit exhibits. The residency is a nonprofit. You'll be talking to other artists and hear about more shows and galleries at the residency. You'll meet these people. Remember the importance of nonprofit centers, what I was saying earlier. The reason shows there are important is because you'll meet even more curators there. The residency is where you will learn firsthand about more of these centers, because the people there at the residency are probably traveling around to all of these places. So funding is what happens next. Funding is in March, right? To go along with this particular plan. So you received your first acceptance to attend a dream residency. Now you need to get funding together to go there, because some expenses are paid for, but not all, or you need money to pay for things while you're gone. So that means grants and patrons, which is step 5 and 6 here with your roadmap, getting funding together. So applying for grants. Grants are what makes the world go round. It helps artists all over the world to make paintings, sculptures, films, music, performances. It funds cultural centers, museums, every kind of art form you could imagine. The best place to find out about grants is your local library. Yeah, I'm dead serious. Your brick and mortar library. It's kind of fun to go to. For some, it's less intimidating than searching online. Your local library will have a grant section. Just ask the librarian, those wonderful people that are there to help, say, is there anything on grants in here? I'm looking for grants. They'll have a section with real books. They'll also tell you that they have a computer that's hooked up to a resource that you could use as well. And there are other places you can search online or use a directory like the Foundation Center in New York City, which is free if you go there in person. Otherwise, it costs money online. But most libraries, again, will have subscriptions to that online grant agency, which they can tell you about. And this is what it looks like, the Foundation Center. And you do search right away, and it's want to, and you can put in find grants for individuals, organizations, projects, whatever it is that you're working on. So how to apply and win grants. This is important information. What do you need to do, right, to secure them? And here's the method I recommend. After you do your research, then the process begins to fill out the grant. Here's the method I suggest. You put the deadline in your calendar and 2-week reminder, 1-week reminder, and 3-day reminder. At the 2-week reminder, read the whole grant, really. Then begin filling it out. At the 1-week reminder, finish it. At the 3-day reminder, this is how I do it, set it all up in the calendar. It's time to polish and show it to a friend or teacher. I use that so it's not just all the deadlines coming at once. Grants are won by writing a clear application, but also by being sure the grant is a fit for you and aligns with the organization's mission. Grants are also won by submitting more than one. It's a numbers game. Successful grant writers keep using the same materials and apply for multiple grants. It's really important that you keep applying. It's not about just one, right? And they're easier to get than you think. They're not as competitive as you think. Like the Guggenheim, the one that gives out 41,000. That's one of the most prestigious grants in the world, Canada and the U.S. competition. Last year, they got under 1,000 applications for artists, out of the tens of thousands. Maybe millions of artists. Under 1,000 applications? Not much. They gave out maybe 20 grants, but still 1,000 people out of all the U.S. and Canada? And that's a very famous one. So apply for 5 grants by March 31st. Don't think you won't get one, because if you don't apply, you definitely will. But you have to apply, and there's a great chance. There's still the month of January, right? I'm talking about, and you don't have to apply all of them this month. Just get all the deadlines in order. So it may stretch over several months of the whole year. So by March, you're then applying, the materials are ready. I'm just laying it out so it's, in 6 months, and it doesn't seem like you got to do all this next week. You can do this in the first half of the year. So sometimes it's not easy to find the right grant, right? Maybe you have a question like, is this a good grant for me? Is it worth paying a $25 fee? As a praxis student, you get grants lists that are handpicked to save you the hassle. And I can tell you there's grants all over the world. It's not as though there isn't grants in Europe or England or Spain or Holland. There's granting agencies everywhere, and there's awards everywhere. So I'm not even getting too much into awards here, but that's another form of a grant, an award that you compete for. Available all over the world, and you can also compete for international awards and grants, even if you don't live in a country where you think there's many. You can ask me about grants, and you can ask other experts in the group and members that may have already applied to the grant. So, that's what you get as a praxis student, lists that are handpicked. But if you're interested in that kind of support, wait till the end of the webinar. I'll answer all questions because I put something together for you that's pretty special. So step 6, patrons to fund your way. How do you find these people? How do you reach out to them? And what do you have to do to get their support? They all have private foundations and giving histories. It's all there. They're listed on museum websites under categories like benefactors and angels, a whole list of them in their membership area, on their website. You'll see it. These are living people. If you look at a local museum, those people are the wealthiest people near you. Once you have their names, Google them and get their phone number and learn about what they do. It's really that simple. They're all around you. And so these are the things you can do when you get their names, as I've told you. They're there in alternative spaces, museums, listed everywhere. In membership, and they're on site in other places. These are the 3 methods you can use to reach out to them. You can, 1, write a direct letter soliciting a donation. That's the most popular in the classes I teach. You can write a letter asking for a brief meeting in a cafe, second most popular. Or you can write a letter or ask in person for a studio visit. But let me break that down so it's clear. In one way, it's very straightforward, right? You write a letter to a patron and either ask for a meeting or you ask directly for support of your practice or for a particular project. There's nothing they want in return except to see you flourish. Remember, they have foundations to give away money and to learn from you about your art and about art in general. They're in it for the long term, so it's a relationship to nurture. Let's go through the 3 types of letters to write. So the first is a direct letter soliciting a donation, the most popular one, right? It takes the least, it still takes bravery, but it's not as scary as maybe, meeting someone in person. That's probably why it's popular. You introduce yourself, you make clear that you know who they are, and ask directly for a donation to a residency or a particular project. You can also ask for a donation just to continue your studio practice. The letter should contain these 3 things: who you are, what you need support for, and a very easy way to send money. I'm a big fan of the paypal.me link. That works internationally. Not your PayPal address, but it's a paypal.me link you can make for free with PayPal. So they just click on it, put it in an amount, and it goes right to you. Less clicks is key. Write a letter asking for a brief meeting is the second form, right? In this type of letter, you're asking for a meeting, ideally in a cafe very close to where they work. This is a great way to start a long-lasting relationship. And that's what it's about, not like one donation. You want donations to keep coming. In that meeting, you have a conversation about both of you, and you also ask for support right there or invite them for a studio visit and set up a date for that. Like talking to curators, patrons too, it's good if you know what they do. Do a little research on them and find out what they've given to in the past. Ask them about their pet projects. They're going to love to talk about them. That's what they're really, really into. Write a letter or ask in person for a studio visit. This is a second thing to do here. This letter asks, the third thing, asks directly for a studio visit and is the hardest to get. The response you want because you are a stranger to them and you're inviting them into your studio home, right? It's odd in a way, right? Imagine you get a letter from someone that says, "I'd like to invite you over to my home." You might do it, but it would be better if you could bring a friend, right? It might make you feel a little more safe, a little more comfortable. It doesn't matter whether you're man, woman, inviting a man, woman. We feel safer in numbers. It can also be a great way to begin a relationship, and then you can ask for support because when they're in your studio, it also feels great to the patron. Great for them to see. That's what they want to say. So the secret to a successful ask is, you have to remember that patrons get pleasure out of giving away money. It's hard to believe because you may not know people like that, but that's true. They put money aside in their foundation. You can imagine giving it away is kind of fun. They give it to whoever they want. There's nothing they want in return but your dream realized. Their job is to give away the money. They're not investing or buying things. When talking in person, I would use this line after showing some of your work. It's just one line that students have used that works. "This is my dream," you can say. "Have you ever thought of investing in a dream?" Then pause. Wait. Don't jump in to fill up the silence. Wait. And they'll say something like, "No, I never thought of that. How does that work?" And then you explain to them what it means to be a patron, that by supporting your dream for as little as $100 a month, they'll be given an inside track on your studio process and how this dream blossoms. You could also ask for a one-time donation, like $5,000 to make this dream happen. And, this may seem hard to believe, but this is how artists of all types raise money all over the world. It's how patrons work with you. All it takes is bravery on your part. Courage and bravery, for sure. There's no question about it. So I hope you're writing this stuff down or listening closely, because one or two conversations like I just mentioned could change your life. It will also make you feel like someone believes in you. Because when a patron gives you money to do your residency or your next series of paintings, it's no different than saying in the clearest way possible, "I believe in you. I believe in your art." And that's powerful medicine for any artist, financially and emotionally. The money's great, of course, but the belief in you that comes really from just that patron relationship is very, very powerful. So the resources that you should use is my most popular and most expensive course is Patrons and Sponsors. It's about how to build relationships with these people. And in that course, you'll have templates of letters you can use to write to patrons. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks. Then I will personally edit those letters before you send them out. It's an $800 course, to be honest, but because you are on this webinar, you might be able to get it for free. I put together a membership special bundle for you that includes this course. But you have to wait for that. First, let me make good on my whole promise today about the roadmap that explains all of the elements for international recognition. First, I have to finish the roadmap for you. So mindset is a huge part of it, as I'm sure you know. How important do you think your belief in all this is? How important is your belief in your own greatness, in your own beauty, in your own talent? You believe in yourself enough to be here. An artist must. One of the rare people in the world that kind of like wills themselves into existence. You believe yourself into existence. So the next step is bravery, and bravery is not just a step on the roadmap. Bravery it's the pavement of that map. It's the material the map is written on. So how do we access the bravest parts of ourselves? How does that happen? We're not inventing it. It's actually already there, just like courage itself. It's waiting for the moment it's needed. If you plan to do this roadmap after the webinar, you will be ready. So it's the time to muster up that courage, that bravery, right, to use the map I haven't finished telling you about. If it's something that you can think about that term, muster up, as they say, it's not about intent, right? It's not nature, right? It's the force is all around you. You know, it's about intent, and I'm sure you are all most aware of that, right? Because at this very moment, probably you intend to keep making art and exhibit it internationally and nationally. Um, don't you? You know, I'm sure that's why you're all here. So hold on to that feeling. Know that when you lose this feeling, you can indeed muster it up again, right? You can call on making work again, and it will come to aid you. So the trick to muster up bravery is to also know it's inside you, right? And to remind yourself of that all the time. Take at least that from this webinar, this roadmap. In the Praxis membership group, you'll see lots of bravery in the group forums of artists and teachers you can interact with. And you'll also see struggles with bravery and hesitation. And that's where the teachers and your fellow artists come in to support you and help you muster up that energy and that courage. But more on that later. On with this roadmap. So February to May is where we're at. And these are the last 4 months of the roadmap. Now you have started your applications, you have the funding to go, you're on a defined path. Step 7 is gallery exhibits. You know, and it's possible to do these in different order for sure. I'm giving you this order because I like this order. But here's the steps to gallery exhibits. Make a short list of galleries to visit that are not more than a 45-minute drive from wherever you are in the world. A drive or a train or a bus, no more than 45 minutes, because you have to be able to access these places. Visit those galleries and evaluate them by talking to the curator about the art. That's what I do. You don't have to walk in there and say, I'm an artist, do you show artists or anything? Walk into a gallery, make a list of ones that are close by, again, within 45 minutes, the most, I mean, more or less, and just visit them. And when you walk in there, ask them about the art on the wall. Say, can you tell me about this artist? And listen to how they talk to you. Do you like the way they're talking? Do you like the gallery? You're interviewing them. If you like their gallery, then say thank you, and you can go home. You don't have to tell them you're an artist or anything. But when you get home, you can call them up and ask this simple question. That's all you have to say on the phone to any gallery. Hello, I'm calling to ask, do you look at the work of new artists? And if they say, no, sorry, we don't. That's okay, right? It's obviously nothing personal. But if they say, yes, actually we do, then say, okay, thank you. Who can I send work to at the gallery? And where would I send that to? Do you have an email address? And they'll say, oh, yeah, send it to Jill. Her email address is jill@thegallery.com. And saying, what should I enclose? Should I put a website in there or just a few images? Because those are really the options, right? Sometimes they say, just send an email and 2 or 3 images, that's all. Because that's an easy way for them to look at, no clicking and looking around. Sometimes they ask for a website. Okay, and remember, we're getting to all your questions at the end, which is coming. So the galleries. As I was saying, to talk about that conversation, when you're in one of the galleries on your list and you're just poking around, you know, I'd suggest you pick up information about the artist being exhibited, which is usually the resume, and collect that. And if you're feeling brave, as I was saying, ask the person at the front desk even if you can talk to someone about the art. You can do this in the biggest galleries, small galleries as well as the biggest ones in New York, and point to a particular piece of work to that person at the front desk. You will find, and ask them, say, can I talk to somebody about that work over there? Can I speak to someone about that? And you will find that person at the front desk will get someone out there for you within moments. And it will either be the curator or the director. Then just explain you're interested in knowing more about this work. Point to it, say, that art, that work, can you tell me a little bit more about it? I want to know more about that artist. And you know about art, so you can talk about it intelligently. You can say, what's the message here? Tell me about this person. Again, you're just listening to them talk. Do you like how they're talking? Would you like your art to be talked about that way? Again, you're getting a feeling for how they're selling the work. No need to mention you're an artist. You're just looking. If they want more information from you, say, I'm just looking. I don't want to give any information now. It's fine. Or something else if you want. You can tell them you are an artist if you want, but it's best to not get into that at that point because you might not even like them. Ask them more questions, get them talking. So after those 3 steps, send in what the galleries say they want to see, like your website or images and a bio. Remember, you go home and then call them. Then follow up by going into the gallery and or writing an email. Follow up is important, right? You can't let that email not be responded to. Keep asking until you get an answer. Do not accept silence for an answer, because usually a sign of silence is just an overworked person. A lot of people are overworked out there. So assume that they are. So now, if you do that with 6 galleries, all you have to do on so that you have on your list, you will find that you have some real favorites. There'll be some favorites in there. And, call the remaining galleries that you like. Do it the same way. Muster up that courage, because that's all that it takes. It's just a phone call, it's obviously just a phone call because it may be hard for you to do, but if you paid someone $10 an hour and you say, can I pay you $10 an hour to call artists, to call galleries and say, wherever, and say, do you look at the work of new artists? They'd say, sure, that sounds good. They'd have no problem with it because you're associating something personal with it already. But it's actually simple. So use the method I taught you. Use them as your training wheels so you don't feel like a fish out of water. And when you do this overseas, with foreign galleries too, galleries everywhere, you could do it during your residency. It's the same process everywhere. Contact a gallery, meet them, talk to them, go to their openings, events. So preparing for your residency, because we're in the last 4 months, you're looking at galleries, a lot of things are happening. While you wait for your residency to start, which maybe will start in the summer, you don't know, you can practice presenting yourself to a curator. You do this with a friend to pretend they are a curator looking at artist studios. Invite them to yours. Ideally someone who understands what a curator is. And just remember the few things, the touchstones, your work, your interests. Listen to the curator closely. Ask them questions. So Praxis is here to help with this difficult step, with preparing for the curator. Besides the resources, there's also a chance to present yourself for feedback, so this process of preparing is even easier. Galleries. In Praxis Center, there's a gallerist, a New York gallerist, to answer your questions and presentations. So you can test out your presentation beforehand, like your bio and statement and pitch and other questions you may have, so you get it right the first time. But the roadmap isn't done. In the last few months, you're at the residency, so there's more preparation to do. International biennials, super important, right? You want to be in one. One directory for biennials is called Universe in Universe. They have a regular listing of biennials and their curators and their themes. They all have themes, every single one. This is what they look like, international biennials. See, they're everywhere. Taipei, Cuenca, Brazil, Sharjah biennial, Middle East. Great biennials all over the world. Another one is the directory of biennials, and this is what their front page looks like. Biennials are exploding, all over the world, partly because biennials are great for local cities and towns. When they have a biennial, which is like a ton of artists coming to one place and curators, not a ton of artists, maybe a few hundred artists, it's a cultural draw from all over the world, and that's why they work too. So some biennials have ways to apply and others do not. For the ones that do not have a way of applying, you can do what I did to get into the Whitney biennial. I found out who the curators were. They'll be listed on those past 2 sites I showed you. It's really that simple. I had no reputation, no gallery representation, and I got in. They liked the work. It's what it is. Biennials give you an international stage and can be a huge boost of visibility and an artist's career. They're the most prestigious forms of international visibility. So your biennial research is check to see if there are any biennials during your residency. While you're doing the residency, wherever it is, in the US or Europe, anywhere, Canada, check to see if there's biennials happening around there at that time and go see them. So step 9 is you're showing in a nonprofit center is also a community experience. You'll make new friends, you'll find new supporters, and that's kind of key. Where do you find these nonprofit centers? You look up your local state council on the arts in the US or in Europe, and that's where they'll be. There's also art councils and ministries of culture. They're called in different countries. Look them up. They all have websites. Go through their websites and you'll see nonprofits in that list, in that region. The people they're associated with. Culture, it's where culture comes from. You'll see support for visual arts, dance, film, music, theater. In most cases, there's an application to fill out, and that is all. In the U.S., the National Endowment for the Arts has a great directory, which looks a bit like this. So you see state and regional agencies. They all have these. You have the address, their phone number, their everything you need. National Endowment for the Arts is a big network for all of these things in the United States. And again, they're all over Europe in ministries of culture. Nonprofit centers is part of this whole world. You can begin with just one nonprofit center, learn how to apply, and then take your time with the first application, because the most important thing is how you present yourself as a serious artist, right? That has something to say, because they're not interested in sales. They're interested in good art, who you are, what you're experimenting with and working on. Nothing has to be revolutionary or groundbreaking. They're looking just for good art. So as a member of Praxis Center, you get support for your biennial aspirations, as well as feedback to make your presentation that much better, so you can have a better chance of getting in. The roadmap is nearing its end. But you remember where we started? Now you see what's happening here as it fits into your step-by-step roadmap. The Praxis method brings together all these elements so you can know for sure that you're presenting yourself professionally and that you're presenting yourself in the best possible light. It's a method you can use over and over again once your website, mindset, application materials, and ability to have a conversation with curators are in place. Now you also have a 6-month plan to do this all. So that was the insider roadmap I promised, right? It was step-by-step in 9 steps. That's exactly what you need to get into your first international residency or exhibit in the next 6 months, plus $5,000 from a patron, at least. As I mentioned throughout, if you need specialized help with the how-to, the correct execution of those steps, don't worry, I've got your back. I've put together a special program to help you with that. So, I know, your head's exploding, right? Let me ask you this. If there was a breathtakingly easy way to navigate the highest tiers of the art world without endless phone calls, emails, and other business stuff, so that you can exhibit more, make sales, and finally get the recognition you deserve, instead of feeling like a minor artist in as little as 1 year, would you take it? Even if you think, I can't write, that's why I'm an artist, and that's why I never get grants or residencies, and who knows, maybe my art isn't good enough or trendy enough. Even if you can't go to every show because you're older or disabled or not near a big city. Even if you have too much art in storage and must work all day to pay the bills and your partner or spouse isn't very supportive. And even if you've tried all this before, it never seems to work and you always end up in the same place, right, with less money and more rejections. It sounds a bit out there, right? So allow me to introduce this. This is Ruth Chase, one member of the group. The audio should work
Hi,
on
my
this.
name is Ruth Chase, and I'm a visual artist. I have been in Praxis for 2 years, and what I have gotten out of it is mostly the community. I mean, I live in a small town, and a lot of my work really isn't relatable to where I live. So the community of artists has been phenomenal. Many people doing what I'm doing, and many more people doing far more than what I'm doing. So I learn a lot from them, but also from the workshops that Brainard has, as well as the professionals that come in to teach these workshops. It's really kept me on top of the latest information about how to get into museums and grant writing and on and on and on. Anyhow, thank you, Brainard. I love Praxis, and thank you for starting it.
So that's Ruth, talking about her success, but she also reached other very concrete goals, like sending out press releases, which got her more attention on the radio and all over the place in local newspapers. And here's another case study, Barry Wingard. He says, I want to thank you guys for, this is right from the group, to send out the mail. He was looking for a sponsor. My letters, and they landed in mailboxes today. I got my first 1,600 promised tonight over the phone. Yippee! Brainard was so right. I was thanked repeatedly for allowing my work to be sponsored. Talk about being excited. Wow. I did my email campaign last night, and very early this morning, I got my first response. I have had emails, texts, and phone calls all day, asking questions. I don't know where all this is going, but it is a fun ride so far. If you've been sitting on the fence with sending out your letters, just do it. Heaven knows I have been sick worrying about it. What a waste of time. You see all the remarks, 11 comments, 21 people. It's a supportive group. More happened with Barry, too. Then there's Noah, right? Became an international artist when applying to his first show. He says, hey, gang, keeping you up to date. My career has taken off as of September 22nd. I'm an international artist. As awesome as this is for me, I haven't stopped there. I'm using the success. He won a prize, a Luxembourg prize. It's an international prize, that was organized. A good example of one that's a good one by a nonprofit organization. And they gave 25,000 euros to him. The winner is also airfares paid for both ways. They pay for your stay there, and they transport your work, and they even pay for one other person to come with you. Right? He got a museum purchase out of it too. So what if I told you all of this takes less time a week than your grocery shopping? Typically, an artist in the school sees rapid progress in a year just working at this 30 minutes a week. And what if I told you it's as easy as filling in the blanks? Because it is. You get templates and contracts for patrons for writing letters as well as scripts for calling them. All you have to do is fill them out. It's almost done for you. What if I told you even a first-year art student with no experience can do it without any training? Or if you're mid-career, advanced, mature artists, this won't even have to involve endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff. It's not what it's about. Because I know you just want to make art, not spend all your time promoting it. You don't have to be young, beautiful, big city artists with trendy avant-garde work. All this takes is to have a little faith. And the faith I'm talking about is also the faith that others will have in you. Because when someone supports your work or becomes a patron, it's like they believe in you personally, which they do. But it starts with you believing it's possible, and then you can accept that support as well. So to those who have faith and take the leap, they are rewarded with exhibits and patrons and grants and prestigious biennials and press and sales. Otherwise, it can't happen, right? It seems impossible. Yes, here's more people. Christine had a group show. Patricia has got another donor. And Yael was thrilled to be part of a new exhibit. Ruth just got her first museum exhibit, with the one who just spoke before that you heard. Noah James Saunders, the one who went international. That was the Luxembourg Art Prize. 25,000 euros and all accommodations, airfare, and shipping covered. Jeffrey won a grand prize in an exhibit, New York City. Andre was accepted into a residency. She hopes to meet patrons and sponsors there. She's on the track, right? Now you know the plan. Jennifer, she's thrilled to announce she got a residency. Kara, she says, wow, all this great stuff's happening. She got into a residency, has also been given a scholarship to attend, and she's excited. She has a family, and she's going to be away from them for 10 days to focus on her process. Pretty exciting. Laura, the bottom, got $1,500 as her first sponsorship. And you see these people's letters, too. They're adjusting templates. You see what happens. And here's Hope, press in the local paper. $50 she also got in sponsorship. Allison got her first response through PayPal and using the paypal.me link, right? Really important. For those who haven't used it yet, it's easy and efficient. Sarah, who did very well, ended up raising thousands, got her first sponsor there. This is all right from the group. 100 and one for 200. That was her first $300. Barbara sold 5 prints to the Lauder collection at Portland, Maine, where the Lauders were associated. She had a show. A curator showed them the work, and that was her first sale directly to collectors, which is unusual. That's the one way it can happen from museums. Museums aren't even taking a percentage. It goes straight to her. They buy straight from her. Lanth got 400 in donations. Alexander received 1,000. He was great. posted pictures of the money. So if you want to wake up from an email from a gallery to exhibit your work, or start your day by making art instead of business stuff or on social media, because a check for that $10,000 grant you applied for just came through in the email. You want to decide to go to lunch with a patron, right? With a collector friend of his who wants to purchase multiple pieces without having to worry. There's one artist who's selling a whole bunch to a hotel. You want to go to bed satisfied or gratified and feeling like a rising star who's finally getting the recognition she deserves in the art world. You want to go through your week with more time in the studio, right? And far less resentment of the art market, because other people are believing in you now and proving it by buying your work or being a patron, making it a habit to go for a nice walk, right? Your calendar for the year says the artist has made it. Winter residency in Berlin, then an exhibit there, and off to the Venice Biennial and a few other major art biennials, and a summer residency in Italy or Holland, all funded in full by your sponsors. So I want that for you right here, right now. This is introducing the Praxis Center membership. This is a VIP edition that's very limited. I don't offer it regularly. Everything you need to make it in the art world in one place. It shows how the art world really works, right? So you get more exhibits and more recognition, all this stuff I'm talking about. It helps you get into prestigious shows in museums and biennials and finally get the kind of international recognition and raving reviews that actually lead to sales. It helps you get grants and sponsors and patrons to support your work with personal support from professional editors, gallerists, and grant writers, without the need to do endless phone calls, emails, and business stuff, without the need to face humiliating rejection and the dreaded silence of an email that hasn't been responded to. In as little as a year, right? Next year, 2019. Even if your work isn't trendy or avant-garde, even if you can't write, right, or network or negotiate, or you suck at all the business stuff, even if you can't go out to shows all the time because you're older or disabled or not near a big city, it seems impossible, right? So, allow me to introduce what happened to Barry. Remember him before? Raised $1,500. Today's been a whirlwind type of day. I have lots I want to share with all of you, but the details are not finalized yet. But I will tell you my project was completely funded by one patron today, all $17,600. I still have the other $1,600 coming in the mail this week. I still can't believe it. Thank you, Brainard Carey, for teaching this class. And I want to thank all of you that nudged me to jump in and do it. Now you see it, 39 people, 19 comments. Again, the community is rising. They helped him do this. He was hard for him to muster up the courage to do it. Raised over $18,000. He exceeded his goal. Jennifer, I'm new to the group. I've been stalled beginning this program for many reasons, but the sad truth is I'd rather chew off my own leg than ask for money. Last night I forced myself to ask a local radio station with your templates, and what do you know? I got $500 in free airtime for my project, and here I am, standing on two legs. I can do this. I'm even looking forward to do this. And Rose, she got a major college show out of the blue. Curator found her work online. And today she says she got an email from the producer of Maryland's public television series, Artworks. She says, you may not know it, it's local, but if you watch that show and you're into art, it's a big deal. After I got done freaking out, she said, I realized that all of this happening after I updated my bio and artist statement with the help of Brainard Carey and Cheryl McGinnis. They're the other people helping you in the class, other editors. It cannot be a coincidence. I took my work to the next level as of September when I started doing landscape. And this was like my 8th attempt at getting the artist statement right. But all of this processing of who I am as an artist that really helped me make my authenticity shine through and be something that people really wanted was done as a result. I have been a member for almost a year. All I can say is keep going, keep upping your game, making authentic, truly original work. Listen to Brainard, Cheryl, and Julia on presenting that work. If you're called to be an artist, it's not an easy road. It's a sacred duty, but you can get there. I had to read that, right? Rose is encouraging. That's partly what community is about. Here's Sarah, who raised much more money.
Hey there, I'm Sarah Kennedy. I'm a student at the Praxis Center with Brainard Carey. I took the course, the Patrons and Sponsors course, and I just want to say it has been a total game changer for me as an artist. I went from feeling like it was annoying if I tried to ask for money for my art to feeling really confident and comfortable asking for money. It's been a total mind shift for me. And so far, using the methods that I learned on the patrons and sponsors class, I've raised almost $7,000 for my one-woman show. And I feel like I'm just at the beginning. I feel really confident that I can raise more money, and being a part of the community has been so helpful. Getting help from Brainard, learning all of his methods. I highly recommend it if you're an artist.
Sarah continued to raise money. Very exciting to see that. So here is a small example of the gems in the VIP edition of the membership. You'll know how to use these tactics for a never-ending supply of all of this: exhibits, galleries, museums, and biennials. You'll learn why you need to question every single person who tells you to do work for free to get exposure, and what to do instead if you want recognition from the press and curators discovering your work, and what never to do in artist statements, right? Bios and press releases to avoid rejections. 3 idiot-proof ways to get sponsors and patrons so that you can finally get funding for your practice and make art without financial pressures. The letters are already written. The simple test that instantly identifies the 5 application landmines you have been stepping on all these years. This is why you don't get grants. And 10 tricks that, once understood in practice, will make you a master of getting attention online so that everyone knows who you are and what kind of art you make and tells you so in comments. You will also get 9 online courses so you can learn how the art world really works from the comfort of your home, at your own pace, without paying for travel and lodging. This is all online. Getting your art exhibited is a step-by-step guide to getting shows with letter templates, word-for-word scripts, and a virtual classroom where you can get feedback from a gallerist that's there. Grant writing, how to find and win them. Then in that course, you'll have completed the grant you can be proud of. You can take these in any order too. There's artist statements, bios, press releases. How to write yours so that grant agencies will write you back, and an editor will personally be there to edit your statement and bio. Social media strategy and web design will be there. Of course, just in best practices for websites. Selling online, walk you through the process of how people sell everything online. Kickstarter, school for artists. All you need to know is about launching a great campaign and making it work. There's a lot of special tactics that work on Kickstarter. Time management, about those techniques, because they're important. Taxes and financial planning. Unfortunate, but yeah, all your tax questions. Art theory and essential reading for artists. This is like a reading group that'll give you texts to kind of discuss, and you can use them to help you contextualize your work. So with these industry tactics at your fingertips, you go from, I give up, I'm going to paint in obscurity, the art market is bullshit anyway, to, wow, I made it. I'm actually internationally successful now. Like Noah, like all these people, in as little as a year. But that's not all. You also get the Insider's Artist Lounge, which are 23 lectures from experts in all these areas. There'll be 23 different expert lectures on all kinds of topics that you'll need. It's a mentor network where you can ask these experts questions in the group, and they'll answer. They'll help you if you get confused or a way forward. There's a gallerist, a dealer, a curator, and a writer who are there to answer questions. I mean, Praxis guest lectures are our new expert every month. Just had one on funding, who funded films and projects and talked all about how he did it, and also how to find more people to do it. So you know how this works, and you have the answer to how the hell did that mediocre artist get that show. You'll also have access to the editor, which is huge, to edit your artist statement and bio so you can stand out and wow grant agencies. Your Dear Abby of commercial galleries. If you don't know what to think, you ask in a group, and the gallerist will respond and tell you. Grant and residency lists. Always selecting them and publishing them. You'll be the first to know. The private Facebook group is a community of art professionals and artists like yourself, so you never feel isolated in your practice, and you get the practical and emotional support you need to thrive as a successful artist. Without a support system, it's nearly impossible to be an artist. I mean, think about it. Van Gogh had Theo, right? What do you have? You'll get a digital copy of the book, Making It in the Art World, comes with a course. And then, oh my God, is this for real? The webinar bonus just for you guys is my and sponsors course. So imagine for a moment how your art practice would change if you knew how to find the names of local patrons, if you befriended these people and created lasting relationships, not one-time donations, and you mastered the art of approaching businesses for sponsorships, just like you were hearing Sarah do, all while creating a valuable network of peers, colleagues, and experts in the field. So a professional editor for sponsoring letters is a big deal, because you'll be doing a lot of applications. So, you'll get help with that. And there'll be also the Dear Abby of patrons and sponsors. I will help you edit your patron and sponsor letter once you've used the templates. I will tweak it for you. And getting your art website reviewed as well by me. You're part of my inner circle. You'll know about future books ahead of the public. You'll get advanced review copies of my books. And all that amounts to a very real value of $6,570 a year or $547 a month. But I'm not charging you $6,570, a fraction of what it would cost in a college. Not even a quarter of that. I'm still giving you 10 times more value with more impact and more results. But there's a catch. You get this price within the next 3 days. After that, the price goes back to full price. So it's $59 a month. The annual is $595, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can get this membership if you want it, with all the support mentioned, for $59 a month now. You'll get the non-online courses, the 7 bonuses I mentioned, as well as the VIP bonuses that have to do with the patrons and sponsors class. You get it all instantly, start using it within the next 60 seconds, and start seeing results. So here are a few hard questions for you. Would you rather get exhibit internationally? Yeah, or keep dealing with how unfair the art world is as you pay another month's storage fees for artwork? Would you rather be a starving artist who toils away in obscurity, or an international one, feeling the enthusiasm Noah has with generous patrons and sponsors? Would you rather have a small, cramped studio in an apartment, or a big studio in a comfortable home? Because it comes down to that, right? All around, it's choices. If all this system does is to get you the freedom to be, do, or live the way you desire, or get you from toiling away in obscurity to getting the peer recognition and commercial success you deserve, right? Or finally allow you to break free from paying for a show and not selling art, would you agree that $59 a month is a tiny price to pay? Almost insignificant, really? This is the instant access you get. 59 months, $59 a month, or $595. You get the courses, the bonuses, taken in any order you want. So you have 3 options at this point. You can choose to hire a high-priced consultant and pay them thousands with no guarantees. You can choose to do it on your own with no help, and then there's the dreaded silence, unreturned email, leaving you without wind in your sails. You can choose to change paths altogether and get an MFA with no courses on how to get your work sold and end up in the same place, less money, more rejections. The choice is yours. Annually, you'd save 18%. I should remind you that there's absolutely no risk to try this, literally zero negative consequences. You can buy without worrying about losing your money. We offer 30-day guarantees. Your dignity, we won't shame you for refunding, promise, or your face, you get to keep it. The only thing you stand to lose is the humiliation of rejection, right? Of obscurity, of watching artists who are worse than you making more. So unless you enjoy getting hassled, and I doubt you do, because you're not showing or selling and being miserable is your preferred state, go to the links and join me so you can do what Barry did, raising all that money, so you can overcome what Rose overcame and getting all her materials together. Have the life that Ruth chose, museums. This is your chance, and now is your time. Instant access to Praxis membership is right here. So I'm going to answer all your questions now. There is a limited amount of that, so if you guys want it, go for it. Here, I'll put the links in here, and I'm going to answer all your questions now. Those are the 2 links that I just put in there to get it. If you'd like it, you'll need a credit card on those links. I'm going to answer all your questions now. And here is a PayPal link if you want to use PayPal. Well, that's not it. Let's see. this is a PayPal link. Any of those three links will do it. PayPal is for the monthly, and the top are for monthly and annually. I have limited spots on this, and I'm going to answer all your questions now. Okay, so let me see. First, Lauren asks, is the patron's money directly to an artist? Is it tax deductible, or better to go through a nonprofit? Even rich people want tax breaks, right? Okay, I mean, there's a few questions actually in there, Lauren. The people who are giving away money, they get a tax break for putting their money in that account. When you receive the money, whether you receive it through an organization or any way at all, when you receive any kind of grant money or patron money, Lauren, it is income. It is taxable. It's not tax-free for you. So if someone gives you $10,000, I would save, $3,000 of that for taxes, just in case, right? So think about that when you're asking for money. Don't make it so tight to your budget that that there won't be enough there. I hope that answers the question, or ask it in a different way. Michael, any thoughts about the switch from 20 years of mostly juried art festivals to public art and that sort of format work? Do patrons like being in groups, cocktail party format, or do they want to feel like they are the only one? No, they like the cocktail party format, absolutely. But to address that, and I see, yeah, some people are asking also questions. They're emailing me about they can't get in, but those links should work. I'm going to paste other links here too soon. So sorry if, well, I see 3 people just joined, so there's still spaces. Michael, any thoughts about the switch from doing mostly juried shows to public art and that sort of format? First of all, yeah, I like that switch. If that's what you've been doing and that's what you want to do, public art is great, and it's a great way to get visibility and to, a great way to show work. I love public art. Patrons do like being part of those kind of projects. And do patrons like being in a group where it's one-on-one? I mean, they're all different, really. But they do like being in a group and meeting other people. And they also do like, being just in a studio and learning from the artist, or however it is that you want to build a relationship with them. It really is about one-on-one relationships, really. But what I'm saying is it doesn't mean that they don't want to be in groups or other things. I hope that answers your question. Okay, let me get to the others. I see a number of people are signing up. Welcome aboard, you guys. People are also asking me, for some reason by email, everybody's emailing me. There's still spaces left in this group. Yeah. So yeah, but this is just for you guys, and there's space left, and they all work. The PayPal link and the other two. Okay, so someone's asking, so you can't find the links. Here they are. If you guys don't see them, those are all of them. Okay. So how close to a Patreon bank account that allows me to hire builders to do my pieces? I'm not sure what you mean even exactly. How to close a bank account that allows me to hire builders to do, or open one. You can open an account, but that's just as a contractor. I mean, a lot of your work I'm not a tax accountant, there's of course in that, but if you mean how to hire other people and pay taxes on that, they're all independent contractors if you're an artist. A patron can give you money to do a project. Let's give you $50,000 or $100,000, and you spend $30,000 or euros on salary of people in your studio. That's okay. That's tax deductible to the extent that you can use tax deductions for you're making your art. I hope that answers it. What about an artist who just started and hasn't been selling directly or only through commissions and yet doesn't have a consistent thesis or body of work? You have dreams, right? That's okay. You have some work. Don't worry about being a mature artist. This is not for something that only works for mature artists. This absolutely works for artists that are beginning in a number of ways. So that will work. You can just have an idea, a dream. A lot of people who get sponsorship and patrons have an idea they want to fulfill that they haven't fulfilled. Barry did. He wanted to do a series of canvases. Okay, hope that answers your question, or ask it in a different way if I didn't get to it. And welcome aboard, Trisha. I see a number of people are signing up now, so welcome aboard. Yeah, it's a great way to start out the new year. Give yourself a Christmas present, right? You deserve it. I know you're buying them for everybody, and or whatever, the whole crazy time this year. But $60 for yourself, and you have a deposit on a new life for you next year. At the very least, a whole new body of knowledge. Much cheaper than college, right? Than an MFA or a doctorate. Not that I'm against them, really. So can I give you an example of what I meant, JP said, about making an analogy to a book or reading for your artist statement? Yeah, rather than having to think you have to talk all about you and your work, you can also compare the whole thing to a movie or a piece of philosophy that you've read, or even another story that you've read. A story itself can be, instructive. So, you can use other stories and say, myths. Think of all the myths that there are. There's the myths, of just turning lead into gold, which is kind of like the artist's paradigm, right? You're taking paint and turning it into something extraordinary. You can use analogies like that, or you can use stories in real life or news events to help people understand your work a little more. Okay, more people are emailing me and asking me about the links. I'm giving you 3 here. 2 are straight to the school, and 1 is a PayPal link. Welcome aboard, Susan and John and James. And okay, going through all your questions. So keep asking them. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to get to everybody's questions. So how to open, how to make a contract. Eva, yeah, happy to help you with that. I hope you join the group, Eva. How to open one account, how to make a contract, all that's fairly straightforward. Those are templates, and we would advise you on that in the group. But you simply open a regular account, and you can start paying people, and you put together a budget. That's part of what goes. You can tell the patron if it's that complex and you want to hire 6 people, or 2 or 1. You open an account and keep track of the expenses, and the patron will be paying part of that budget. So Elizabeth, great, welcome aboard. Yes, time to level up. See, great. Elizabeth was in there. Now she's signing back up. Great to have you aboard. You can take a break if you need to. You can do this for a while and take a break. Lisa, you should be able to open the monthly link. Click on the PayPal link if you want a quicker way to do it, and that'll do it as well. So Michelle asks, yeah, tell me if that doesn't work, Lisa, but that should work. Try the PayPal link. I'll put it right here with the other links. The PayPal one's on the bottom. Okay, so how often, Michelle asks, to send out email updates to potential patron? Rule of thumb for frequency? Good question. Yeah, rule of thumb frequency is at least monthly. At the very least, monthly. You could do it more often. I've seen artists that do projects are sending it out like 1 a day or twice a week. It depends what you write, but once a month, I'd want to hear from you once a month. What's happening? Less than once a month, that's kind of far away. But if you're writing things that's interesting too, and I'll help you with the emails, Michelle. There's a course in that. If you're writing emails, the important thing is to engage them so they want to receive them, so they're fun, make it a great email to receive. Annie, yes, month to month, you can cancel anytime. So be a Santa to yourself if you'd like, Annie. If you buy this for $59, you can even, stop in a month, stop after Christmas, stop, after January, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I know all of you are probably crazy with presents, and this is a really nice, inexpensive one for yourself. For a couple of months, it'll really get you charged at the very least, but probably much more. So glad, Mary. Glad to have you aboard. Thanks. People are saying a lot of nice things, so thanks for that. People are also asking me where the links are, or they couldn't get it. What seems to be working for several people: Evelyn, Brad, Elizabeth. Great to have you all aboard. So how to address a change in medium, Gibson asks. I'm transitioning from choreography and theaters to using movement, abstract graphics, and projection for installations. It's okay you don't have prior gallery representation. That's not what any of the nonprofits that I'm discussing need. They're not looking for prior gallery representation. They're looking for just what you're talking about. You can even say that. You're transitioning from choreography to something else. Those things relate. One builds on another. What you're doing sounds cumulative, Gibson. So, you use what you've done in there. That's all part of it. I hope you're in the group, Gibson, because would love to help you with that. It's a great transition. It'll support it. You do have a pass that you can use. So Shelley says, okay, what if you live in a country where English is not the official language? How do you apply for grants, fundings, biennials, etc.? Most of them are in other languages. Absolutely, you can help, but you seem like you write very good. You don't have to. If you can write English as well as you're writing right now, that's plenty to get into all the residencies. If I understand your correction, right. You can do all of those. So let's see. Yeah, you probably hope to have you aboard. Okay, JP says, art is necessary in order, that's a quote, in order that man should be able to recognize and change the world. Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Love that quote. Love that quote myself. Want to remember that quote. I'm going to paste it in down here. That is a great quote. Thank you for that, JP. Okay, do you take monthly? Is it monthly? You can do, or the whole year at a time. Either way. Either way. So there's two options. That I'll put here now to you. That's monthly and yearly. Monthly is $59, the yearly is $5.95. That does come out, yeah, all it. If you do the yearly, it comes out all at once, but you save more money, of course. Okay, thanks again for the quote, JP. Shelley says, I spoke to a senior curator here who asked me to send her my work. Is it better to send it once I've set up a prior website link first? Yeah, great to have you in the group. It's about presentation, right? You could send her 3 images, you don't have to have it set up, but get it set up. And if you're at that point, Shelley, senior curator is asking to see work, then join the group. $60 could be an investment that could make that work for you, polish things up at the very least. Yeah, send it. You don't need a proper website link necessarily, but it takes no time to set it up. So dedicate yourself to that. Send it to her in January and not before the holidays, and get polished in the Praxis Center if you want. I'd love to have you aboard. Welcome aboard other people. Let's see. Yeah, welcome, Annie. Glad you're aboard. And glad you're on, Evelyn. Yeah. So glad you joined. That's great to hear. So glad you joined. Let's see. Who else? Shelley, I'm answering everybody's questions. I'm not going anywhere. Is it a good idea to have a newsletter for patrons? What's the best blog content for a website? About my own work, vis-a-vis your recommendation on not have an overwhelming archive. What is the best blog content? Can performance stand up to be part of art practice? Absolutely. English is my home language. Good. Love to have you in the group, Shelley. You sound great. Is it good to have a newsletter for patrons? Yes. What's even better than a newsletter for patrons is personal letters, handwritten even, or typed and put in a beautiful envelope, but absolutely you should send out letters regularly to patrons. Keep in touch with people who love you. What's the best blog content for a website? Is something fairly intimate, what you're doing in your studio. You don't have to be in the picture, but show works in progress, performances in progress, anything, sketches about your own work. You don't have to write much, just a little update. And can performance stand up to be part of an art practice? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how I got into the Whitney. I was doing performance, actually, and installation. So hope you're in the group, Shelley. I'd love to have you in there. There's more spots left. This is limited, you guys. But again, give the gift to yourself. Why not? Of membership for Christmas. This is a really special deal. $60 is I think a valuable present to yourself. You'll be feeling it throughout the whole year. It's literally the gift that keeps on giving, right? once you understand these practices, you just keep doing them. You can stop doing this. People stay in because they love the community. Okay, let's see. Are art schools necessarily worth it in today's art world? You know, art school, I love art school, right? I have a son that's going to art school. I think art school's cool. You know, he's about to. He's in high school. I think art school is great. You learn to kind of talk about your work, be part of your peers, and, you know, I think those are all good things. So absolutely, I think it's good. I think art school is great. Is it worth it? I don't know. You want to take out a loan for $100,000 or $200,000? Yikes, that's a lot. But, you know, I really don't want to put down at least undergraduate, because it does open doors. You know, it's great to have education. The more books and stuff you read, the better, I think, right? That's my feeling. I hope that helps. Feel free to ask others. Or Miriam, you're welcome. So glad you're signing up for your Christmas gift, as you call it, and Scarlett too, and other people. Great to have you guys all sign up. This is your Christmas gift to yourself. Why not? You deserve it, don't you? You've been making art. I'm sure it's good. Give yourself this gift. Why not? So Michelle said, I've heard it said to strike restaurant cafe exhibits from your CV. What's your take on that type of show? Yeah, I don't think restaurant cafe exhibits are particularly impressive on the CV. If you want to do it and it works out, okay. Depends on the restaurant and the cafe, right? There's some restaurants that have beautiful work in there. That always impresses me. But it tends to not be impressive on the CV. But that's you can do whatever you like. Okay, more people keep asking for these links. I'm going to get to all the questions, but these are all the links. All right, let me see. So yeah, so glad to hear replay link. Yes, there will be one. The replay link, absolutely. Hold on, I'm just going to get to the end of these questions so you get it all. You're going to get the replay link, everything, whatever you want. Yeah, I'll get to that in an email too. Great, so glad, Cece. So glad you like the resources, Shelley. If I get a scholarship, yeah, is an MFA worth it? Shall I saying if they own copyright on the dissertation? They don't own copyright on the dissertation. Nobody does. Yeah, full funding, absolutely. Why not? Then go. Feel free to ask more if I didn't get to that question. Everybody else, great to have you all in this Christmas time of year. If you can afford $59, I think it's a great gift for yourself. You could ask someone else even, do you want to give me this gift? And maybe they'll give it to you, because it'll keep giving long after the holiday. Okay, so more questions. Should I be listing all the art shows, festivals on a CV? Michael asks. No, just the ones that are good, that you think are good, that are important to you. What's your opinion about Patreon versus Kickstarter? Well, that's a good question. Patreon is quite different than Kickstarter, right? Patreon is it's a format that I give support on, we give talks on and everything. It's a format that allows people to get monthly donations for their practice, which is cool. Monthly donations are good to see, but you have to, and there isn't a minimum, right? So like with Kickstarter, there's a minimum to get signed up, but with that, it's not. So there's a number of things to think about. With Kickstarter, it's one big lump sum of money you're going for. That's kind of nice. You want a bunch of money to do something, then use Kickstarter. You have a limited amount of time. There's some pressure on, so it's nice. You either get it in a month or two, or you don't. Patreon, you have to really work it. You have to have something that you're going to give patrons every single month, and it's all online. So it's possible, I like Patreon. Patreon's good if you're making a comic or doing things that people get every month. So you get, 600 subscribers at $5 each, and you have, $3 or $4 grand a month you can depend on. It depends on your project, really. What are my feelings on Artsy and First Dibs? Currently interning at a gallery that for 250-year artists gets put on there to present work on top of gallery representation. Really, that's what they are. That's what the gallery is doing. Yeah, Eric, I wouldn't say if they want to put it on there, they can put it on there. There's no reason you shouldn't be paying uh, to have the gallery put your work on Artsy or anywhere else. If the gallery has their own site, yeah, I wouldn't do it. Just say no, thank you. Say if you think you can sell my work on Artsy, then put it on there, and you can take $250 out of the first sale. I mean, if your work's a few thousand or more, and you feel you can spare $250, but say I'm not going to put that in there myself. The gallery, Eric, should feel confident in selling the work. So Adrian and Lisa, welcome. More people are on, and Scarlett, welcome aboard. So glad to see all of you guys. There's still spaces, and for your Christmas gift to yourself, because that's what this is, isn't it? I love that this time of year. So Miriam said, I don't have any awards or exhibits for my photography. Should I include other awards on my CV since that's all I have for now? Yeah, absolutely. And you could do a bio, Miriam, about what you do and how you got there. That's really all. You don't need to have anything right away. Your work can stand on its own as well. So so happy holidays, everybody. I hope either you got this for yourself or someone's getting it for you, because you certainly deserve it. Right? You're all wonderful artists, and for those who keep asking, here are the links. PayPal's on the bottom, credit cards are on the top. PayPal, takes me a little more I have to send you another letter manually to enroll you, but I'll send you letters, you'll get letters, and we'll work it all out, and you can know that you're having a great start in the new year. That's the new year for all of you, right? That are signed up. It'll be about international recognition, getting your foot in the door, understanding skills and resources and approaches and how to present yourself, talk to curators, everything. Let me see. Okay, Q&A. Is there 2 questions? Someone says, let me see. All right, I got that one from Gibson. I'm not a social media man. I hate social media. Is there still hope? Yeah, you don't have to SEO. You don't have to have. You don't have to be a social media person to have hope. You don't even have to be social, but you do have to be a nice person. If you're that, then that's fine. Plenty of artists are particularly shy and not social. Comes with the territory, so that's okay. And you could do a minimal amount of social media if you're in these courses. You don't necessarily have to be part of Facebook, although there's a lot of resources on Facebook. You can do this through the website and email. Okay, so Michael says, what if you get into the international thing, a residency, but you don't get the funding? Okay, well, you have a few choices, because ideally what you'll do is this, Michael, you apply to several residencies. Once you apply to one, you could apply to more. And I don't want to tell you to apply to dozens, but you could easily apply to 20. So let's say you apply to 20 in a 2-week period in which you really get jamming or even have some help. And Kung, if you can chat in the chat area, I see people are raising their hands a lot. I get electronically, but if you can chat in the chat area, then I can answer your question. So Michael, back to your question. So let's say you apply for a dozen or more. You might get into 2 or 3, and you have to turn 1 or 2 down anyway because they come at the same time. So it's like going to college. You can turn them down based on funding. Maybe one of them has most of the funding, or maybe one of them has only partial funding, and you have to come up with funding. But the one that needs funding, is in a very special place in the world. It's in Iceland, and they're having 6 curators there. I don't know, then maybe there's other things to consider. So, you weigh it like you'd weigh going to college. How much funding do you get? What really is the best match? What do you think you'll enjoy more? But funding is usually the priority there for sure. Okay. So again, I hope everybody, Khan, it looks like you want to answer a question, but you're not, you're raising your hand, but you either have to use the chat or the, or the question, or one of those. Eva, is it a good idea to show new pieces in an art fair, even with a fear of inspire others to copy your pieces? How do you know to whom to trust? Could people copy your work? Who to trust? It's in art fairs. You have to trust everyone, Eva. It's a very difficult situation, I know. But you must trust everyone. Anybody's art could be copied anytime. If we put it, even if we don't put it online and you only have it in your studio. And Claire, please ask a question in the Zoom chat. You see the chat window there, Claire? You can ask a question there. Just look at the chat. So Eva, yeah, it's a good question and a difficult one. And I hope everyone is jumping on board who wants this. These are the last questions, the last chance to get it now. For those of you who want to give yourself the gift of $59. And Kung too. Kung, if I'm saying your name right, please ask a question in the chat or the questions. Raising hands, I'll respond to. Just give me your, just type something up there to me. So Eva, yeah. All your art can always be copied if it's in a gallery, museum, anywhere. You have to trust that yours is unique enough and only has your hand. I mean, look at Leonardo da Vinci, right? He had plenty of copiers. So many people have copiers, current artists too. The actual artist's original work is always more special. So trust everyone. It's a much easier life and much less painful. And know that, and Zin, please use the chat. Everybody, if you're having trouble finding the chat, it's right there in your little menu. So use the chat and ask a question. I see you raising hands, pressing the raising hands button, but you have to chat and type it in for me to get your question. Miriam, I hope that answered your question, Eva. I hope it helps. Trust everyone. Your work can always be copied. Kang Fang, I hope you can find the chat. Trust everyone, Eva. You'll always be copied, hopefully. But know that yours is the original, and it'll always work with more. No one, let go of that fear. Let go of that fear. Every artist must, or it would be impossible to exhibit. Yeah, and whatever people tell you, you can't be that you can't be that cautious. Is there a quick way to get equipment? Eva says, is it a quick way? Miriam, is there a quick way to get equipment sponsorship? All my equipment died. Some got stolen, so I'm struggling just to get the basic tools to work. Yeah, absolutely. You can write a letter, Miriam. I hope you join the group. I hope because now you'd get into the patron group, Miriam. You could start on the patrons immediately. Start raising money for that immediately. That's called like an emergency request, which is another way of doing it, saying, putting out this request to ask for money immediately for a situation I'm in. And that's very good. Another way to get it. Okay, so Kun Fan keeps saying raising your hand, but I can't chat with you because you're not typing anything in. If you type something in, I could respond to you, and same with Claire. It seems that you would like me to respond, but I'm not responding because I don't see your questions. You have to put in a question. Okay, so great. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll go and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to Dennis, Adrian, Lisa, all the people who bought it, Scarlett, Brad, Evelyn, Elizabeth, Susan, Trish. This is a great time to be on board this, a great time to be on board because it's the new year and you'll have a lot of energy and courage. That's what we're going to do here, everybody, is muster up courage and get energy. So if you haven't signed on yet, jump in, give this present to yourself. Last one I'll be offering this year. Do I know any contests for physics art or new paradigm art? Absolutely, but there's a whole bunch of them in Rivet and the other resources. I hope you jump on board and you could jump into that right away. Rivet is a great one, so is Residencies Unlimited. Zin, great, you got to ask a question. See, Zin found it, so Claire and Kun found it too. Great. And answer your questions. Great, Enrique. I'm counting on you. That's good. To give the gift to yourself because it's nice to meet you, Enrique, and I look forward to having you on board. Kun, great. Merry Christmas to you and lots of power and luck for everyone. Claire, do what Kun did and find a way to use the chat. Michelle, you're so welcome. Zin, I understand that relationships are everything for true success and movement. And that press doesn't necessarily translate into sales or exhibit. Do you think there is a place for spectacle and flash mob type of performance offerings to disseminate information and spread the work art? Zin, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% behind you. Relationships are everything. I talk about that a lot, right? I'm a big believer in relationships. I think they're a very important way to get things going. So, but absolutely spectacle, flash mobs, performance offering. I come from a performance background myself. To spread the work, to get press, to build people together. I mean, I know Spencer Tunick, who, he brings together, I don't know if you know his work, hundreds of naked bodies in the street. He gets people, men and women, to often hundreds of them, to all take off their clothes at once, lay down in the street, and he does these installations that are photographs that are very powerful. And his work is for sure spectacle, and did very, very well. So, okay, Shelley, good to see you all. More people are signing up. I see they're giving the Christmas spirit to themselves. It's hard to give to ourselves, isn't it? But honestly, you're an artist. It's like, you can see this $60 as part of your medium. It's not much. And, like I said, you can cancel it any time. Just getting some things reviewed in the new year will put you off to a great start. It'll give you a chance to just feel great about what you're putting forward, and, and all kinds of stuff. So welcome aboard, everybody that's jumped on board. Glad you're here. Claire, I'd love to answer your question. You can email me. I see you keep raising your hand, but you haven't found the chat, Claire. So either ask a question in the question area or the chat, if you can find it, Claire, or email me. Reply to any of the emails, and you can get it that way. Any other questions? You wonderful people, you wonderful artists. Great to be here with all of you. Really, really nice to be here with all of you. Oh yeah, is there a slide deck? Let me give you that right now. So for all of you, hang on. Let me give you a book and the slide deck. Okay, that's part 1 and part 2 of the book. And there's the slide deck. Guys, just click on that. On the slide deck, you could download it. The books are PDFs. You can download those as well. I'll stay here for a little bit longer to be sure, that because I think when I close this talk, that's going to disappear. Evelyn, you're trying to ask a question. You have to use the chat or question. And Claire, you have to use the chat or question. You could also send me an email by replying to one of my emails on your computer. And Claire, I will answer it that way, if that will work for you. So yay, there it is. Part 1 and part 2 of Fund Your Dreams Like a Creative Genius. That's a book that just came out. Yeah, that's it. And wonderful to have you all here. And wonderful to see that you're being so generous with yourself and giving yourself the gift of this for the holidays, because why not? You should give this gift to yourself. It's great. I'm so glad you guys have. Zin, you're so welcome. I'd love to see more of your spectacle and what you're doing. Shelley, my book is on Amazon as well. They're all on Amazon. They're all published by a traditional publisher, and they are all on Amazon. So yeah, I think I answered all your questions. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like that. Zin, good. I hope so. Big fan of whatever you're going to do. Sounds good. I'm excited. I've done public work and interventions myself that raised eyebrows, so I'm a big fan of that kind of technique. As long as people don't get hurt. So let's see, what else? Any other questions? What shall we expect you to start working with us? Evelyn, well, you can sign into the groups. You can see what's going on. If you post questions in the next few days, I'll answer them. Usually takes me, I say give me 48 hours to answer questions, but I'm almost always there sooner, Evelyn. So glad you signed up. But you can jump into any of the courses right away, start learning, start asking questions in the Facebook classroom. It's all private. No one else can see it. And yeah, and I'll get back to you quickly, probably less than 48 hours, but I say that just in case. Claire, I know you haven't been able to reach me, so reply. And for all you guys aboard, Evelyn and everybody else, Crystal's in, and all you guys, and I think a lot of you are on board. So it's very limited. If you didn't jump on now, it'll be hard for you to get to do it again by PayPal. You'd have to use a credit card if you do it in the next 24 hours. But I want to welcome you guys all on board that are here, and again, thank you for being here today. And I don't do. Eva says, yeah, I am based in New York. I do some gatherings, but I'm not offering a gathering right now. I'm not doing a gathering right now. Sometimes I do kind of summits and different things where people can get together. I don't have one of those coming up, but I will give you more announcements about that in the spring. Absolutely. You're welcome, Asia. You're welcome, Eva. Welcome, everyone. Those that are asking, here is the, so you have the links above, and to get into the group, you're so welcome, Eva. You're so very welcome. So monthly is $59. You save money with the annual. It's right there. If you want to give yourself this Christmas gift, and there's a PayPal link there too. So welcome aboard, everyone. Welcome aboard. Great to have you all here. And I guess that's all. I hope you're all doing well, and I wish you all a great, great time. Evelyn, well, you'll see, actually, there's a, you'll get an email, and there's the website where everything is, praxiscenterforaestheticstudies.com. I can give you a link to that if you want. That's where you log in with your email and password. Oh, wait a minute, that's not it. Here you go. This is the email, and you log in there, and then I'll send you, and then you go to the Facebook group. You'll see when you start the courses, or you'll get emails from me that'll tell you about where to find the Facebook group. Okay, so that's for answering questions, but you can, it's worked through the website as well. So again, welcome aboard, everyone. Great to have you all here. Look forward to hearing from you, and I want to wish you a wonderful season ahead, and so glad that you guys came aboard and gave yourself this gift of just listening to it and following up, or whatever it is you're doing. And Kun and Claire, who couldn't reach me by answering a question for some reason, please reply to any of my emails, and I will get right back to you. Okay? I wish you all great, great success, and wonderful to meet you. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. Claire, I hope you'll write to me with your question, and I'll get right back to you. So bye for now. Yeah, Shelley, ask me a crazy question. You can send it, and I'll get right back to you right now, this moment. All right, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful time again. If you want to jump on board, again, here's all the options. And yes, Merry Krishna and Happy New Year to everyone. I like that. Merry Krishna and Happy New York to everyone, as Enrique says. Hope to get to know you more, Enrique, and hope to get to know everyone else. Wishing you all well, and lots of peace and love in the new year. Bye-bye for now. Have a great, great new year. And Merry Chanukah and Happy Chanukah. I like that.